I'm here today with Jill Wiseman, bead weaving expert. Welcome, Jill.
Well, thank you.
So glad you're here.
It's nice to be back.
Yeah, you always have great ideas for how we can weave things together, but you are usually using seed beads.
Yes.
So this is a little surprise.
Yes. Well, you know, sometimes people need bigger beads to work with. And so one of the nice things about using bigger beads is you can also use a bigger diameter thread. And in this case, we're not even using thread, we're using beading wire.
Nice.
The other great thing about using beading wire is we're able to use something that has really sharp edges and not worry about whether it's going to cut.
Right.
So here I'm going to just use this uses a surprising amount of cord. I'm actually going to do about 2 yards worth. And anytime I tell people that, they're like, no way, are you going to use that much? Well, we're going to go up and down this bracelet a couple times. So that's why I'm using so much cord here.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
What size is your wire?
This is 0.010, and that's one of the things that's great about this is that you can see how super flexible it is, and it really is about the same diameter as a beading thread.
Right.
So to start this out, we are going to pick up these are some big size 8 seed beads, so I'm not even having you use the little ones.
Okay.
And a crimp. This is a 2x2 crimp. And then another size 8 seed bead. We are going to center this thread on the 1/2 of your clasp. And we'll bring it all down so it's nice and centered. Oops. It is a little bit tricky at the very beginning when you're using these long lengths of cord to get it all organized. So then with the second side, we're going to pass through all 3 of those beads again. And that kind of gives us a little lasso right there that attaches. Now here's the interesting thing that we're not going to do. We're not going to crimp this crimp right now. We're actually going to start weaving, and we're going to come back with this beading wire after we've created almost the entire bracelet and bring these beading wires back through this crimp again. So we have to wait till the very end to actually do that.
So for this particular pattern, it's a little different.
Exactly.
Normally when you're working with these small beads and things, it also helps to have some magnification.
Absolutely. And, you know, lighting also is incredibly key. So you can tell that I'm going to be struggling here with that in a second. So let me turn.
But you were all prepared.
I am prepared. It's good to be a prepared person. So with the second set here, we are picking up a seed bead, and we're picking up one of each color of these crystals. So on one side, we've got 2 crystals, and on the other side, we've just got a single. And the reason we're going to do this is you'll notice in the actual piece here, the lighter color comes across the middle. So with the cord that has only a single bead on it, we're going to pass back towards the clasp through that one random color bead. And as we tighten it, look what it did.
So then you have your first stitch.
You've got your first stitch.
This is kind of a modified right angle weave, would you say?
That's exactly what it is. We're basically doing 2 needle right angle weave.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yep. And so it's very repetitive. So the repeat is that on one side you'll put 2 beads. And on the other side, just a single. I have experimented back and forth with whether it's better to alternate which side you put the 2 beads on, or whether it's better if you just stick with one. Honestly, it doesn't seem to make a difference. No. So don't stress about it.
I did the same thing. I marked the ends with a permanent marker, and I, monitored them to see how it turned out, and it looks exactly the same.
Right.
So
yeah.
Don't stress.
Exactly. That makes it so easy, because it's one of the things that I tend to do is I tend to flip the project back and forth as I'm doing this.
Right.
So, and it's going to loosen up on you as you go along here.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, because we're going to just keep tightening it with each stitch. And I want to show you something else, because as you're moving along here, and you have the longer length, now this piece I've gotten the entire section, I just repeated that same thing over and over again here.
Okay.
You can kind of hold this up and look and see whether you have any spaces here that are super loose. And you can actually tighten them. So you can go back to wherever there's a loose spot. You're kind of pulling these outside ones outward. And then you'll go to the next set and you'll pull them outward, and then you'll pull out, and you gradually pull out any of that excess cord that you have in there so that it doesn't show.
Okay.
It's just a really simple way to get all of that nice and tight. So then when you get to the other end, we have to finish it off so it looks like the first end. Well, when we started out with just 2 bicones, and it's the outside color here. So we're going to do 1 on either side.
Looks good.
And then you can see here again, we're going to follow what we did on the first side. We are also doing a size 8 seed bead on each side. One of the great things about using the 8s is they've got nice big holes for us. This entire bracelet could be downsized to using 4mm beads and size 11 seed beads too.
That would be really pretty too.
Yeah. So if this does seem like the scale's a little bit too big for you, there's an option for you. And then we're going to take one of our size 8 seed beads and put it over both wires. And that's when we can kind of bring it all back together here at the end, tighten it on up. We'll do the same thing now with a crimp. So we've got both wires into the crimp. See, I need to be using my, I was going to say, I totally need my magnification as I'm sitting here struggling to see it. Let's see here. And then 1 more seed bead. Back through both cords. Both cords through the seed bead. And then the other end of our clasp.
I just wanted to mention that when you call them cords, you're always talking about beading wire.
Yes.
But I think, when you come from a fibrous background,
yep,
that is your
kind of default term, because it really kind of covers everything.
Right.
This particular project, I would not do with beading thread. These crystals, the way the cord, and by that I mean wire, is coming across these crystal edges, it's just too dangerous with beading thread. It's going to cut.
Right, so you're protecting from abrasion.
Exactly.
So on this end you would crimp?
Yeah, so on this end we're going to go back through the beads and through the crimp, and we're going to get out to the large beads, and then we get to put in the little seed beads on the side. So we're just going to get out to the first bead here, to the first intersection in between them. And that's when we come over here. Here you can see how it straightens it all up. You can kind of see where here it's a little wonky, a little wavy, but once you add that seed bead in, it really straightens things up and makes it act right.
Yeah, it really does. And so you just took your long wires and ran
straight across. Yep.
Adding a seed bead each time.
Exactly. Okay. Super simple. And that's one of the reasons why we had to use such a long wire, was because we were coming down and up again.
Okay, well let's take a look at your finished pieces here.
Absolutely.
And we can see the finished look. Basically, you just run your wires right through that crimp bead that we originally left uncrimped. And then you're all set.
That's right. And it's really fun to play with, whether you put the dark color on the outside, on the inside. You can really play a lot with it.
This is a great idea.